Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. I am your host, David Watts. I have my theme music, Miss Guapale from the Bay Area, representing Oakland, California. So excited for today's guest. But before we get to our guest, I wanted to talk about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is a book authored by Mr. Jeremy Clark, and it says, "Did you know that you are the SHIT? Positive Affirmations to Overcome Self-Doubt." So Jeremy Clark happens to be a former student of mine. He happens to be a mentee of mine, and he is now an author, an entrepreneur, as well as a motivational speaker. And you guys can follow him at J Clark Speaks on Instagram. So we're really excited. We definitely want you guys to check out this book. Definitely had a great opportunity to go and see him speak yesterday afternoon in Hollywood, California. So he is today's sponsor. So with that being said, folks, this is episode number 59. Episode number 59. We're super excited to have our first daughter and dad duo. This is going to be the first time that I've had a daughter and a dad both at the same time on the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. This is special because it's family. Go way back, 25 plus years. UC Berkeley, 1997. So we're waiting for our guests to pop in, and we're just excited for you guys to be joining us. Excited. I see a lot of familiar faces tapping in. Happy Sunday. I hope you all are well. Blessings to you and your family. Golly, it's Sunday already. What can we do to get these weekends to slow down? I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day, and it was like these weekends go by so fast. But as employees or as educators or whatever your field is for a lot of us, the weeks go by super slow. Don't make sense. But it is what it is. So, Cameron, we're waiting on you to request to be admitted. So if you can request, I think I'll send you a request to join. Super excited. I think you guys might have to do it from an iPad. I don't know, or a phone. I don't think a laptop will work. So we will definitely be waiting on our featured guests to pop on. Super excited. I think here they go. The show's going to start shortly, folks. Thank you for tuning in. There we go. Everybody good?
Hey, so
What's
going on?
I gotta make sure I have both of y'all in the camera. The Fields family in the building. Man. Cameron, let the audience know where you guys are tapping in from.
We're tapping in from Stockton, California.
Stockton, California. For those that don't know, the 209. The proud 209. Super excited. Thank you for joining us. I've been talking about this for a long time. Thank you to Jantel for making this happen. We talked about this at the Arcadia track meet, and we're super excited to have you both on the show. Sit tight. I'm going to read the introduction, and I'm going to read your bios, and then we'll go ahead and get started, okay? Excellent. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. I am your host, David Watts, and this is episode number 59. We started this IG Live in January of 2021, and my whole goal was to have current athletes, former athletes, folks who work in professional sports or sports in general, just share their story, talk about success, talk about failure, talk about work ethic, just basically be able to inform, inspire current day student athletes. So we're really super excited to have our guest on. Our featured guest for tonight's Student First, Athlete Second IG Live is St. Mary Stockton three-sport scholar athlete Cameron Fields and her father Marcus Fields, who happens to be the founder and head coach of the St. Mary's High School rugby program, as well as one of the coaches for the track program at St. Mary's High School. I'm very excited to have this father-daughter combination share their story. I've known Marcus Fields for over 25 years because he happened to be a college teammate of mine at UC Berkeley. He was born and raised in Stockton, California, was a phenomenal student athlete himself out of Stagg High School in Stockton, California, before he went on to being a standout running back for the California Golden Bears in the late 90s and early 2000s. His daughter, Cameron Fields, is currently a graduating senior this year, class of 2022. As mentioned before, she's a standout three-sport athlete. Sometimes it might have been four if she was playing basketball, but three-sport athlete that competes on a very, very high level for the St. Mary's High School rugby team, soccer team, and track and field team. So tomorrow is a monumental day for the Fields family as well as for Cameron, because she's going to be signing her letter of intent, okay, to attend Harvard University, folks. Yes, that same Harvard that's in Massachusetts and in the Ivy League. That is a big deal. She's going to be attending Harvard next fall, where she'll also be continuing her rugby career as well. I'm extremely excited to have my first father-daughter combination on the Student First, Athlete Second IG Live. The Fields family means the world to me, and I couldn't be more excited and happy for the Ivy League opportunity that Cameron has earned for herself. Not by blood, but by affiliation, I consider myself one proud uncle. Without any further ado, I introduce to you Miss Cameron Fields and her father, Marcus Fields.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate the support, and you know, like you said, you've been a part of this process, you know, dating back 20 plus years. So you know, like I said, you've been instrumental throughout this whole deal. So it's a pleasure for us to be here and an honor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's start from the very beginning. I'm kind of going to be doing a tag team, so I think I'm going to start with you, Cameron, then our work pops in there as well. But Cameron, I just want you to talk about your upbringing. Talk about, you know, growing up in Stockton, your family, you know, this, that, and the other. Like, what has it been for you, you know, growing up in that area in Northern California?
You said it. So both my parents were athletes at UC Berkeley. So I was born in Berkeley, and then when I was young, we moved to Stockton, where my dad is from. So I've grown up in Stockton in Northern California, and just growing up playing sports, there's not as many, I guess, opportunities because Stockton is so small, but there's a lot of talent out here.
Yes, indeed.
And so a lot of the kids who I've been competing with since I was little, I'm still competing with them now in high school. So it's pretty cool to see, I guess, the progression from when I was young to when I'm older now. Just all the different levels of competition that we have here.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned that 209 area for a long period of time. It's very small, but they produce hell of athletes, you know, and it's so important to realize that, you know, you're in a blue collar community, and there's a lot of people that are out there working hard, getting college degrees and paying a lot of money for their children to get the best of education over there at St. Mary's High School. So it's such a beautiful thing to be able to see one of my friends and their daughters be successful, and younger sisters and siblings in the family as well. It's such a beautiful thing. Marcus, talk to us a little bit about your upbringing in terms of growing up in Stockton in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I mean, obviously it was a little different just because, you know, when you go back to the 80s and 90s, you know, it was a different time. You know, that was the emergence of gangs and, you know, kind of the crack epidemic. And, you know, so being in a place like Stockton, inner city, I'm pretty sure it was similar to any other inner city, to where, you know, those were things that were, you were, exposed to or surrounded by.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things was just having that solid family structure at home and support. That was really the big thing that enabled me to stay focused and make the right decisions and do what I needed to do.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing, when I think of you from the very first time that we met in 1997 and all these years after, man, it's family. Family is very, very big. Your mom and dad have been together for the longest time. You got siblings, this, that, and the other. And for the folks that don't know, I think I'll take a little bit of the credit. I might have been in the area when Marcus met his wife.
Yeah, hey, absolutely,
in the
absolutely.
Class. In the same
you
class.
can take that.
So.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's, man, seeing it 25 plus years later, man, it's so awesome to see, man. It's so awesome to see, and I'm so proud. And it's just it's something that that you wish for when we were in our younger days. Have our kids growing up together, doing well in school, going to college, healthy, and this, that, and the other. So shout out to you and Chantel for doing a hell of a job raising your family.
We appreciate it, for sure.
Indeed. Cameron, talk to us a little bit about growing up. I know you were heavily involved in sports. You got mom and dad, college athletes. Talk to us about the sports that you grew up playing.
Okay, so when I was probably preschool, kindergarten, I did gymnastics. Then first grade, I kind of got too tall to do that, so I moved into soccer. That's when I started playing soccer. I was introduced to it by one of my friends. So I've played soccer from first all the way up until my junior year of high school. And then between, I would play a little bit of basketball, and then I would also run track a little bit, but soccer was pretty much my main sport. And I didn't start rugby until I was a sophomore in high school.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to get to your introduction to rugby. Who introduced you to rugby? How did it come about? Because let's just be real. There probably wasn't a huge rugby presence in the Stockton 209 area, let alone the Bay Area. But you are going to play rugby at one of the most elite universities in America. That is so awesome. We need to know how this all started.
So my sister, she started playing rugby, I want to say she was probably 6th or 7th grade out in the Bay Area. There were no teams here yet. So I just kind of got familiar with that because we would go to practice together. Because during that time I was playing competitive soccer in the Bay Area as well. Mm-hmm. So we would just commute to practice together. I would go to soccer. She would go to rugby practice. So that's when I first started getting familiar with the sport of rugby.
Excellent. Marcus, you are very influential in making this happen, bringing rugby into the household of the Fields family. Talk to us a little bit about your introduction to rugby. I'm sure probably Cal had a lot to do with it, but what made you want to bring this into your family and start the program that you did?
Well, I mean, pretty much like Cameron stated, my daughter Corey, prior to, Cameron, she hit it on the head. When she was younger, she, did gymnastics. And then when she got into soccer, pretty much that was it. That was her thing. She would do, track and field and do some other things sprinkled in between. But, that was her love. So she found it. In terms of my, younger daughter, Corey, she tried different things, and there was really nothing that was sticking with her, until I started coaching flag football with, my younger son. And, Corey was playing as well, co-ed flag football through the local, City of Stockton YMCA organization. And, she really enjoyed it. She enjoyed playing flag football. And what happened was she started getting to the ages where she was kind of aging out. And a lot of the boys were, transitioning into the Pop Warner scene. And, just personally, I wasn't a big fan of just the whole Pop Warner deal, just because, I mean, for, various reasons. But, at least at the time, I didn't see kind of the values being instilled in the younger players throughout the league that I wanted to see and wanted to be, my kids to be a part of in their like experience. So through that, when she, kind of got a little older, about sixth grade, we're looking for a sport, and I started just kind of looking around, and I started thinking, I said, well, rugby kind of seems similar to football. So I did a little research, and I found that, like Cameron said, Cameron was playing soccer in Danville, and there happened to be a rugby team for middle school girls in Danville.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So, so the practice facilities were, just, a few minutes from each other. So it really worked out to where I was able to get Cameron to soccer, and we were able to get Corey to rugby so she can try it out. And I would say from that initial exposure to it and seeing, hey, this is like football, but it's all girls, very positive environment. We were sold. We were sold from day one. And, like I said, Corey hasn't looked back since.
Man, I've seen the film on both your daughters, and I actually posted on my Instagram and Twitter. I encourage you all to go and check the video of Cameron's highlight tape. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. She is playing at a level that's just way up here, and the competition is way down here. But Marcus, talk to us a little bit about like the opportunity, man. I know we've talked about this, but the opportunity to introduce rugby to some of these inner city areas where it hasn't been presented. This is an opportunity for a lot of young people to get involved, to get great educations, and to ultimately get college scholarships. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that, I'm starting to, or I'm experiencing for the first time. We started the program in 2019, but, at the time that was right before COVID, and we didn't have really any seniors essentially that would be going through like the recruiting process or anything. Yeah. It was a very, very kind of introductory season for us. But, fast forward to this past year, I was able to start to see the level of commitment that these schools have to the sport of rugby.
Yes.
Here in California, and particularly in the Central Valley, you don't hear about rugby. You don't see rugby, so you don't know what that's like outside of this bubble. Yeah. So in seeing that, it kind of, like I said, it opened my eyes in terms of like Cameron said earlier, Stockton is very dense in talent. I think the only thing really lacking, or one of the things, is just the exposure. So
yes,
in terms of me starting the program, it was really, obviously I came with the idea, and St. Mary's High School, the athletic director, Adam Lichter, was been very supportive, supportive. He is, he's amazing as an athletic director in terms of, he is, looking out for the best interests of the students, and, trying to make sure all the students' needs are being met. And, like going back to Corey, Corey was someone who, she didn't really care too much for basketball or soccer or any other sport, and rugby kind of fulfilled that for her. So he was open from day one to, well, hey, I'm certain that, we'll have, a good amount of students that would be interested in doing it. So, hey, let us know what you need, and we'll make it happen. And that's what he did. And so we got it going. And like I said, we're kind of at a point that, a monumental, I guess, moment for us, where this is somewhere where we've never really been. Like I said, I kind of saw a little bit of the opportunity that exists in the sport, but to be experiencing at this point, for me, it's very humbling.
Absolutely, man. Just listening to some of the stories of the female student athletes that you told me that have played other sports, that might have got burnt out at basketball, burnt out at soccer, or whatever, swimming, whatever it may be, and the translation into success in the rugby field is unparalleled. And to hear you say that there's a lot of college programs out there that are willing and able to invest scholarships and admission spots for these young ladies and young men, but in particular young ladies, because it's something that's isn't being talked about. And this opportunity is something that I feel that if you have a young student athlete, primarily a young lady that is okay with playing a physical sport and trying something new and has, you know, a lot of athletic ability, it's something that they could definitely excel and have an opportunity to be a collegiate athlete, right?
For sure, for sure. I think, you know, rugby is one of those sports, and one of the things that really, you know, turned me on to it once I saw it for the first time was just the inclusiveness of the sport. You know, the inclusiveness of it, and just the real positive environment that it, you know, presented for these student athletes. So with that said, you know, there's a spot for everyone. You know, there's a place for everyone within the sport of rugby. You know, and, you know, in terms of, you know, what it is you're bringing to the sport, you know, will determine where that place is.
Yes.
There's a place for everyone in it. And I think there's opportunities, you know, across the board that, you know, young women, like you said, who are willing to take that chance and try something new, and, you know, try something that is a little bit, you know, more physical than, you know, what they're probably used to in terms of the other sports that, you know, your mainstream sports. But if they're willing to do that, there's you know, definitely, you know, a place for them.
Indeed, indeed. For the folks just joining us, our featured guest is Cameron Fields and her father, Marcus Fields. Cameron is going to be a student athlete next fall at Harvard University. She's going to be playing rugby. She's going to be signing her letter of intent tomorrow. I don't know if it's morning or afternoon, but we're definitely going to be sending some of this in your direction. St. Mary's High School, you know, there's quite a few girls that are going to be signing their letter of intents as well. So that's something that's very, very important. So we're excited to bring on Marcus and Cameron. Cameron, this question is for you. If you could give any advice on what you know now to your 14, 15, 16-year-old self of being a student athlete, what type of advice would you give yourself? I know you're a senior now. You've done a lot of things. You've been involved in a lot of things, from high school sports to club sports. What kind of advice would you give your younger high school self?
Probably not to stress as much and just to relax a little bit. And during that time, that was kind of when the whole recruiting process sort of opened up for soccer. So not to worry so much about, I guess, what other people were doing, other people's offers, and just to just work on myself, be open to trying new things. Because at that point, I don't think I'd played rugby yet. So just be open to doing something new. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I like that. I mean, it's so important to be able to make sure that you come into high school with like a fresh palate, trying new things, meeting new people, because there's just so much opportunity. And if you keep yourself in a box, you limit yourself, right? So, I mean, I really, really like your response there. So important. Talk to us about how difficult it was for you at times throughout your high school career, balancing academics and athletics on a very, very high level.
It was pretty difficult just because I was playing soccer in the Bay Area. So commuting, I would go about an hour to practice for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then come back an hour. So just trying to get work done in the car, not having as much time to complete assignments as other kids just because Wi-Fi, stuff like that. But I think also being able to communicate with your teachers.
Yes.
Get help if you need to outside of class, just because that's really important, because my teachers knew that I was having to commute to practices and stuff like that. So if I needed extra help in a class, sometimes I would go to class early, or I would go during break and get help with anything if I needed extra help studying for a test or something like that.
Yeah.
Just being able to communicate with my teachers and even other students that I knew, okay, this person, their strong suits, maybe math, and maybe I'm a little weaker at math, so I'll go get help from one of my friends in this class, or I'll go get help from another student in this class, just things like that.
I love that. That sounded like a seasoned senior. I love that, because you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about communication, especially with your teachers, your coaches, It's so important. I think that's where the ball is dropped a little bit, when particular students have to leave early because they have games or they're sick or they got the wisdom teeth pulled out. For whatever reason, it's so important to communicate with your teacher to figure out what you missed, when it is due, and, when's the next test, right? And I feel like, there are times when some students feel like, well, I missed today's class. I don't have to worry about it until I get back the next day. And that's kind of, you're making it more difficult. You're being reactive instead of proactive if you're not communicating ahead of time and getting that done. Marcus, talk to us a little bit about the sacrifice. I know Cameron just mentioned, man, like an hour each way, not only for Cameron, but also Corey in terms of her rugby practice and soccer practice. What was that sacrifice as a parent for you and Jontel to be so committed to their athletic experiences, as young student athletes?
Well, I mean, you hit it on the head earlier on in terms of just talking about the importance of family. And, like you said, Jontel, she's, an amazing, created an amazing team, to where, with Corey and my son Marcus and Cameron, we all kind of work together and sacrifice for each other to make sure, each one is, pursuing, their dreams and what it is that they're interested in. So, it was, like I said, it was, Corey and Marcus had there were a lot of days where, they're in the car right along with us, taking her.
Yeah.
It's a family affair, so, like I said, it's just, it's a team, and, we all kind of step in and support one another. And, but like you said, it's a big sacrifice, but, definitely not one that, we would hesitate about doing again.
Absolutely, man. Kudos to you and Jontel, especially Jontel, because I know she holds it down. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Johnny, man. Indeed. Now, Cameron, if I was a prospective student that was applying or will be applying to St. Mary's of Stockton, how would you sell St. Mary's?
I think my dad said it earlier, just the athletic director is great. There's so many different opportunities that the school has. The teachers, they really work with the students. If you need to come in early, if you need to come in later, after school, just to get help with something, they're really good about that. The athletic director, if you want to try something new, he's definitely open to trying new things. Along with our rugby program, we also got a beach volleyball program, I want to say my freshman year,
That's dope.
Which I also played for. So he's really good about getting new things and expanding what we already have as well. So that's probably how I would sell it.
That's so important, especially for student athletes, because I feel like parents and student athletes have to be really careful, because there's some high school programs that have a history of not necessarily wanting to share student athletes among sports.
Yes.
And that's something that if you're a multi-sport athlete and you play, let's say you play football and basketball and baseball, this, that, and the other, you really want to make sure that the school that you're thinking about going to is something that it's feasible, that they encourage that. Because oftentimes you hear horror stories of, kids having to quit a particular sport because their high school coach doesn't want them to do it, and this, that, and the other. And you know what? I think that's unfair. I think it's unfair to student athletes. Obviously, I think as you get older, you might have to buckle down a little bit and focus on the sports that are, your bread and butter. But at least when you're freshmen and sophomores, to be able to experience everything, because you never really know what you can be good at. And if St. Mary's was a school that didn't allow student athletes to be multi-sport athletes and didn't allow, different sports, to come off the ground, maybe we might not be talking about Harvard and the opportunity to play in college. So it's so important to do your homework, parents and student athletes, in terms of doing your homework, talking to, obviously student athletes at the time, but as well as former student athletes at these particular high schools, because you can find out a lot about the school itself, not just athletics. So that's something that's very, very important. Cameron, talk to us a little bit about your recruiting experience. I know you had mentioned it earlier, having to go through COVID. Luckily for you, you had multiple options. You had played multiple sports on a high level, soccer, you know, obviously rugby, track and field. Like, it must have been difficult to try to figure out like what you wanted to do. So how was that for you?
Obviously there was that little like COVID year, so there wasn't much talking going on because there were no games really being played. I would say my recruitment sort of really opened up, June 15th, I guess, of my junior year of high school. I started getting phone calls for soccer, but they weren't really the schools that I was looking at. So I would still talk back and forth with those schools. That went on for about a year. Sometimes, you know, I'd get a call for track from like a D2, a D3 school. But then I would say my recruitment really opened up I want to say that towards the end of my junior year, summer going into my senior year, I started getting calls for and emails for rugby.
Got it. Whew, that is such a blessing to be able to have multiple tools in your toolbox and to have options. That's, you know, a lot of student athletes in high schools are one-trick ponies. They got one sport to play, but to be able to say that you had at least 2, 3, you know, to choose from, it's so good to have options, as well as it's awesome to have great grades. And that is something that I am so proud of you and your sister being scholar athletes. And that's something that's so, so important. What type of advice would you give, academic advice, a young student athlete about staying on top of their grades?
I think it all depends on sort of the type of person that you are. If you need extra help, definitely talk to your teachers and see what works best for you and how to develop your study habits. So I know for me, I use different apps that I use to review for my tests.
I like that.
And then I'll go into, I guess, the study hours that my teacher will have, and I'll ask questions just about topics that I don't understand completely.
Yes.
And then I like to review a couple days before the test, just so I know if I have a question that I have enough time to go over that topic.
Yes.
But I think just utilizing all of your resources, that's really important. And to speak up if you have a problem in that class early on, to speak up about it, just so that your teacher kind of knows how they can help you in advance.
Yeah. Man, ladies and gentlemen, that was a game. That was like some gems right there that she just gave away in terms of secrets and things that you could do. The thing that I enjoyed hearing the most is the fact that, like, if you know you got a test on Friday, basically what Cameron said is start studying 3 or 4 days ahead of time. You can't wait till the night before the test to feel like you're really actually going to do as best as you can. If you know you got a test on Friday, if you're studying Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night, not for huge amounts of time, but if you're breaking up those study times, you are going to do better. You are going to remember a lot more. You are going to, I don't know what the word is, but you're basically going to soak in a lot more information rather than trying to spend it all nighter like we've all done. Right, Marcus? But what I'm trying to say is don't wait to the last minute to the day before the test to study, because it's something that you're not going to do as well. You're not going to do as well. So that's so, so important. Cameron, talk to us about how Harvard jumped off. I'm so, so excited and interested in hearing about this part, because it is on the East Coast, thousands of miles away. I think you probably hadn't been there before, to visit the campus until you went on your recruiting trip. It is in the Ivy League. Folks on the West Coast don't necessarily know too much about those schools out there. How did this jump off? How did this opportunity present itself?
So I remember I was in class, it was my junior year of high school. Towards the end of the year, I was in class, And I started getting emails from their assistant coach saying, oh, we're having like a little junior year sort of questionnaire thing. We just want you to fill this out. So I ignored it at first because I was like, oh, it's probably just spam, because I'd been getting emails about their camps earlier, but it was for soccer.
Got it.
Like, okay, it's probably another spam email from soccer. So then, a couple days go by, I open it and I realized, oh, it's for rugby. And I was a little bit confused just because I hadn't played since pretty much my sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of opened it, looked at it. I don't think I went to the video call meeting thing, but we had continued emailing back and forth over the summer. And that summer, which it was last summer, we had a rugby tournament in Utah. So as we were emailing back and forth with the coaches, they said, hey, we're going to be at the tournament just to sort of watch you play, just see how it's going to go. So they watched me at the tournament. Maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, email me back, hey, you did really well at the tournament. We want to keep in contact. So we keep emailing back and forth, and it wasn't until I would say September that's when they had asked if I wanted to go on a visit. They wanted to get me on a visit.
Yeah.
So my first visit, I had gone to Dartmouth, and then a week later I went to Harvard. And so I visited the campus. I stayed for I think 2 days, and I loved the campus. It was so nice. I wasn't expecting it. Just because when I think of East Coast, I thought that it was going to be cold the whole time. I wasn't expecting it to be it was really humid when I got there. So I wasn't really expecting that.
What time of the year was this?
It was, I want to say late August, early September.
Okay.
So, it was pretty sunny, nice weather. The city was really beautiful. It was about 5 minutes outside of Boston.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like I like this. I think it'll be pretty cool to be in this area. So a week after my visit, that's when Coach Mel, the head coach, had offered me. So that's pretty much how, leading up to my offer, how it all happened.
That's so incredible. For folks that don't know, Harvard, as well as any of the schools in an Ivy League, you got to be very, very intelligent. You definitely got to have great grades, like the creme de la creme of grades. So to be able to hear about this opportunity, I remember when your father was talking about it, it's just like, man, man, it's a blessing. It truly is a blessing. Marcus, talk to us a little bit about the Ivy League and, the situation where it's not something where they don't give athletic scholarships, but talk to us a little bit about how what they do is they offer these packages that are all encompassing with academic money and this, that, and the other, because that's something that most people automatically hear. Ivy League don't give scholarships, and they automatically say, okay, I don't want to even think about it. But there's money that's available. And if your kids have good grades, it's something that an opportunity that you really should consider. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I would say that with the Ivy Leagues, it's like you mentioned, it's completely different than your conventional non-Ivy League schools. In that, no, they do not offer, say, hey, we're going to give you, athletic scholarship, right? And here's a, 100% athletic scholarship, right? Because they are an academic institution, and they want to maintain that status of, hey, we are an academic institution above all, and athletics come secondary. So in that, they kind of, work with each family, and like you said, each individual is going to be different in terms of, academically, and just their situation, but it's, but like you said, I think for people to hear and say, hey, they don't offer athletic scholarships, so there's not an opportunity there to get assistance or, to get aid, that's not accurate. But it's definitely, not like your, traditional, like a Pac-12 school or something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I really don't feel that folks out in the West Coast know much about those Ivy League schools just because they're so far east, but folks really don't, especially except for the folks that like work in academia and work in college, admissions and stuff like that. It is very hard to get into these Ivy League schools. In a school like Harvard, I don't know, what's the acceptance rate? It's got to be less than about 5%. It's probably like 3 to 5.
Yeah, so this year was the lowest ever that it's been. I think it was around 3 to 3.5% accepted.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is amazing. Go ahead, Marcus.
No, I was just gonna say, just kind of in kind of piggybacking from the aid side of it, how it differs from a lot of your traditional non-Ivy schools. Another thing a way that it differs is, if you're at, we use Cal as an example because that's where you and I both went. If there's a student athlete that's being recruited, right? As long as you meet the NCAA, minimum required standards, right? Your A through G's, your SAT, everything aligns, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Harvard doesn't work that way. Harvard, you still have to be a Harvard-worthy student.
Yes.
In addition to be a recruitable athlete.
Yes.
So that's where, I think the process really, it was, like I said, it was definitely a learning lesson, for us all, because, you still had to show that, no, I'm still, this Harvard, worthy academic student.
Yes.
So yeah, that's just one of the differences.
It's the, we talked about how competitive it is, and so many students across the country, not student athletes, but students would give their left pinky toe to get into Harvard or any one of the Ivy League schools. And it's so important for the student athletes out there who have great GPAs, who have a great, palette. It's important for them to understand that their portfolio can help them get into a school like Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, and this, that, and the other, where you still got to earn it, but you are, I don't know the best way to say it, but using athletics to get in is going to be an enticing factor because they want you there. So it's something, if you're a student athlete and an Ivy League school, any one of the 8 of them is halfway interested in you because they've heard about you. I'm sure they did their homework. They've checked out your transcripts. They said, definitely consider it because money is available. And what you don't understand is coming out of an Ivy League institution, if you do things right, you play your cards like you're supposed to, you're going to get a great education, but you're also going to link and set yourself up after your playing days are done. And I think that's the most important piece. I think that's the biggest thing, because there are too many student athletes across the country that are going to college for 4 to 5 years. I pray that they're graduating, but there are too many that aren't graduating. And if you're not graduating and the college is getting everything out of you and you're not getting anything from it, you're losing. They're using you and you're not getting, what you should be getting out of them. So my boy Quentin Brooks had a great point. I see you, Frat. Networking. That's so important, right? I want you, Cameron, to know that by going to Harvard, you are one step closer to meeting President Obama. So let's make that happen. Let's make that happen. Let's definitely make that happen. So, Cameron, you went, you visited the school. It was something that you felt that you could do, but it was in August. The weather wasn't cold.
Right, yeah.
My question for you is, how are you going to feel in October, November, December, when it's freezing cold? Talk to me.
I'm definitely a little bit nervous for that, but I know that there's other girls on the team that are coming from California. I know we have a who's coming from San Diego. So just knowing that I'm not the only one who's having to sort of, I guess, adapt to that would make me feel a lot better. But I mean, it does get, well, in my opinion, gets kind of cold out here, but not that cold. So I think just seeing how other people adapt and just sort of learning from them, seeing, okay, how do I dress to go to classes in the morning, stuff like that. And then practices, I know they have like sort of a little indoor practice facility.
Indoor, yes.
So not too worried about it, but I'm kind of pretty excited about it just because I haven't really lived in the snow. So I think it'll be a pretty fun experience.
It's going to be super cool because anywhere on the East Coast, when you're not in season, you're going to have an opportunity to do some traveling. So New York City, I know you've been there. We've been there as a family. But all throughout Boston, there's so many different colleges in that area. You know, just being closer on the East Coast, you know, spring break, you might not want to come home. I know that might upset mom or dad. You might want to head down to South Beach, Miami, whatever, with some teammates, whatever. But it's so cool to be able to say that you're going to see another side of the country, experience a different culture. That college has been around since the 1600s. We talked about it before, huge connections. I will give mom and dad advice. Here's the advice. Burlington Coat Factory in the summertime, you get the best deals. You get the best deals in the summertime. Don't wait till the winter.
Hey, we on it. We got about a month or so, and we on it.
Indeed. For those that are just tuning in, our featured guests are father-daughter combination, Mr. Marcus Fields, as well as Harvard University commit scholar athlete Cameron Fields. Cameron, talk to us a little bit about what you plan to major in.
So something in the science field, probably biology, but I know Harvard has like a special concentration where you get to make your own major. So I would probably want to major in like exercise science or kinesiology, something like that.
Sweet. No, that's sweet. And when have they told you when they expect you to be on campus? Are you going to have to be there in early June or, you know, as soon as you graduate, or you're going to have to wait till August, or when?
Middle of August is when I have to go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's good. So you'll be able to have your one last summer to hang out, you know, but come into camp in shape. That's the key. That's the key because we coming in there wanting to take some spots. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, indeed. In terms of foreseeing the future, what do you foresee as being some of the challenges that you're going to have as a scholar athlete at Harvard University?
I think just the prestige of the school. You know, trying to balance the athletics with the academics at that high of a level would probably do a little bit of be a little bit challenging. But I think if I just continue doing what I've been doing all throughout high school and middle school, I think I probably be able to balance them pretty well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole key, is being able to do it in high school, learn the tricks of the trade. You've obviously done it well, but where most people go wrong is they don't develop those skills in high school, and they wait till college, and it's too late because you're behind the 8 ball. So that's so important. You're going to hit the ground running, get there in August, work hard, go to every class, do all those type of things. That's very important. In terms of life after college, okay, this is life after your 4 years at Harvard. What's your dream career? I've always wanted to know, what is like a career that if you had a choice, if you could say it now, let's speak it into existence?
I would want to be a team doctor for like an NBA team, or an NFL team, something like that. So that kind of goes along with what I wanted to major in. So yeah, like a team doctor, not the orthopedic surgeon, just like the head physician.
Got it.
Yeah.
There is a young lady that I went to college with. Marcus knows her as well. She's actually the team doctor for the LA Sparks, Courtney Watson. So we definitely need to make that connection, Marcus. Courtney's big time.
Yes.
You know, she not only works for the Sparks, she's like the team doctor for Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, the Mayweather team and this, that, and the other. So, Marcus, let's definitely make that happen. In terms of one goal that you have for your freshman year, next fall, all throughout the year, what is one academic goal and what is one athletic goal?
Let's see. My athletic goal, probably to be, I don't know, make all Naira first team, or that's their sort of their league, I guess.
Got it.
First team for that. Academically, that's a tough question. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe challenge myself in some of my classes and probably go a little bit out of my comfort zone with
I like that.
classes.
I like that. I definitely like that. I mean, I know it's initially going to be difficult, but, you know, I would probably say if you can start connecting with some of the upperclassmen, trying to figure out, like, you know, who have similar majors, trying to figure out, even get some of those general eds, trying to get a feel of what classes are interesting, this, that, and the other, because I've always said that, especially in college, the difference between an okay grade and a really good grade in college could be the engagement of the teacher, could be how exciting the teacher is, could be how interesting they are. Because, you know, there are some college educators, man, they'll put you to sleep. They put you to sleep in a minute. You don't want to take their classes if you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? No, for sure, for sure, for sure. I actually like that. I actually like the fact that you're going in with a plan of, doing science and hopefully, I love that feel. I love the fact that you're thinking long term and thinking of doing something that you enjoy to be around. I mean, just make sure you make this happen. Dad and I and Mom want to get some courtside seats. When Lakers come into town, we need to make that happen. No Warriors though, only Lakers. So, excellent. Marcus, this question is for you as a parent. Having your oldest go off to college next year, it must be like a out-of-body experience for both you and Jontel. Like, how are you guys dealing with the fact that you'll no longer have 3 children in the house, it'll only be 2? I mean, has it hit reality yet? Has it hit at home?
You know what? I mean, I can say it has, but I know it hasn't. I think, right now we're just enjoying the process, just staying in the moment and just enjoying the ride. I would say that's the best way that we can kind of, explain it. We, like I said, we know the day is coming. We know the time is coming. But we feel like she's ready. We feel like she's ready to take that next step. And like I said, we're just enjoying the time being. As you should.
Just make sure you get that credit card, the airline's credit card, miles ready, baby. For sure. Well, this is a part of the IG Live. It's the I call it the overtime section, Cameron, and you'll be the only one to answer it. Pops won't be answering, but this is the questions that I didn't provide for you. The first thing that comes to mind, no long explanation needed. They should be simple questions just to get you thinking, okay? Question number 1, in all your years of education, what's one teacher you've had that's had the most impact on you and why?
Probably Miss Trente, my first grade teacher. Just because I've known her for so long that she's just always been a teacher she's been in my life. I've seen her every year after that. And she was just a fun teacher to be around.
Excellent. I like that. Let's make sure I'll do my best to edit this. I want to make sure she gets that. It's very, very important. Question number 2, if you could relive one sports moment of your athletic career, what would that moment be?
I'd probably say when I think I was a sophomore, when it was my first rugby tournament with my club team. When we won, I think it was like I don't know what tournament it was, the Sevens national tournament or something, probably that moment.
Excellent. Question number 3, and Dad can also answer this one after you answer it. If you had this upcoming Friday one opportunity to eat at the best steakhouse in Northern California, wherever this place would be, if you had the opportunity to have one guest, that guest couldn't be Jesus and it couldn't be your mom or dad, who would that one guest be that you would have dinner this upcoming Friday night, 7:30 p.m.?
LeBron.
LeBron James.
Yes.
And what would that conversation be like with LBJ?
I don't know. I've been watching him probably ever since I started watching basketball, since I was maybe 9 years old. I don't know. It'd probably be, I don't know, a pretty casual conversation. Got it.
I will say this. I do see a Jordan poster in the background, so hey. That's probably your dad's poster then, huh? That's probably it. Hey, Fee, one dinner guest, who would it be?
Hey, you know what? I'd have to, like daughter, like father. I think I'd have to have a sit down with, Mr. LeBron James himself and talk a little clutch sports and seeing when they're going to start getting involved in some rugby.
Ooh, speak on that, please. Hey, I'm telling you, if we speak it into existence, you got the biggest platform at a Harvard University. Let's make it happen.
Definitely.
Let's make it happen. I feel like this. I feel like student athletes, especially if they're great, students in the classroom, they're involved in their campus, they have so big of a platform, and I feel like student athletes don't understand that in terms of work in the community, in terms of reaching out to alums. There are people that have gone to Harvard that are, just graduated 20-something years as a student athlete on the rugby team at Harvard. It's something that you have to take advantage of it. And that's one thing I strongly, strongly encourage you to do, because I know I didn't do it enough when I was at UC Berkeley. So for sure. Cameron, if there was one thing that the pandemic taught you, what was that?
Probably to be patient, and to keep working on myself and keep working on what I know I can do best.
Excellent. Marcus, this question is for you. 42nd Street, Manhattan, big billboard, Times Square. You could have one quote, one saying, doesn't have to be yours. It could be somebody else's saying. What would you want going across the ticker?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, so many, as you said that, just so many things just started running through my head. I'm trying to narrow it down to, just something that's simple and sweet and to the point. Do good. Let's just say that. Do good. And the reason I say that is because in thinking about this process, in terms of academically, when I say do good, I mean doing your best. You know what I mean? Put your best foot forth in the classroom. Put your best foot forth with your peers, with your teammates, with your teachers. And ultimately, by just keep doing that, ultimately you'll get to where you're trying to go. So
absolutely. I think the name of the game is to compete.
That's it.
You can't just compete on the court, on the field, in the weight room. You got to compete in the classroom. You got to compete on your campus. You got to compete in your community. You got to compete in your lifestyle, trying to get the best diet, trying to get the most sleep, trying to do the most networking. Like, if you're competing on all different levels, you're not going to miss much. That's key. That is super key. It. Cameron, last question for you. How do you, Cameron Fields, when it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
Probably that I was a good person, not just athletically or academically, but that I was that I was a kind person, sort of easy to talk to, that I was easy to get along with. Probably one of those people.
Speak that, for sure. Last segment of the IG Live here. I know we got a few minutes left. I like to call this the Oscar or Grammy moment. Cameron, imagine you are at the Nokia Theater or wherever they have the Oscars or the Grammys out here in Los Angeles. I know you've been out here plenty of times. And you're in the audience, and they call you up because you've won the big Oscar or Grammy award. So you walk up to the stage, you're suited and booted, whatever you're wearing, you dress to impress, right? You get to the stage, you pull out your notes out of your pocket, and you're giving, it's an opportunity for you to give your roses to your family members, to the people that you want to thank, to organizations that you work with. The mic is yours. Oscar or Grammy moment.
I definitely thank everyone that that has helped me along the way. Even, teachers that I've had an impact on my life. Different coaches that I've had for different sports. Definitely thank all of them. Definitely my immediate family members, mom, dad, sister, brother, all my cousins. And then thank God, all glory to Lord Jesus.
Amen. Amen. Marcus, I know you're there somewhere.
Yes.
Question for you. This is important. A lot of people are going to see this, bro. I want you to, for any folks that are interested in supporting your program, your rugby program, or just folks that are interested in starting a rugby program of their own in their own community, specifically community of color where it hasn't been introduced before, what advice would you give them, and how can they connect with you to help support your program?
Got it. So the all rugby organizations at the youth level and high school level are ran through US Rugby. So I would start at US Rugby, the website. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but start there, and that will identify their region. Like, for instance, where we are, Rugby NorCal is the governing body. So Rugby NorCal is my direct contact who really got me going in terms of, getting my team organized, give me whatever resources I may need in terms of, getting your coaching certification, finding refs and that whole thing. And even equipment. If you need equipment, USA Rugby will distribute equipment, within your region to pass down to any, new organization. So that's a start. Secondly, in terms of my organization and in St. Mary's High School Rugby in particular, once we're done here, I'll give you, my information. You have my information, but in terms of specifically for the club, and please do distribute it to, your viewers, your listeners, or anyone who may be interested in, like I said, supporting, or, doing something similar, because, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of opportunities, and, I want to see the sport definitely grow, as I know that it can, and get these young women taking advantage of these opportunities that are out there.
Speak that. Yeah. Indeed. Speak that. Cameron, I oftentimes have a lot of young people watch these IG lives, and a lot of young people in middle school and high school in the early years, and they're oftentimes reaching out to our guests. So in terms of your IG information, how can folks get a hold of you on Instagram? Are you on Twitter, or where can you be reached on social media?
So I only have an Instagram. I think you have tagged me in a post.
Yeah.
If not, you can definitely just send out my information to anyone who needs it.
Got it.
Just shoot me a DM, and I'll definitely take a look at it, try to answer it back. Excellent.
Well, folks, dad and daughter, I really appreciate this. I felt like this was very, very good. It's been something that I wanted to do ever since I talked to Jantel. We left Arcadia that weekend a couple weeks ago. I'm so happy for the family. I'm so happy for you, Cameron. I'm happy you were able to tell your story, because I know that your story is going to inspire somebody. And I hope that it inspires a multitude of young women to get involved, to go the unconventional route of doing something that not a lot of people have done before, and blazing your own path. That is something that is so, so important. I, along with all of your dad's former teammates at Cal, we are wishing you the very best. I'm trying to figure out my airline miles
Yeah.
and all that stuff. We're gonna have to get out there.
We'll get it worked out. We'll all get it worked out together.
Yeah, we definitely gonna have to work that out. I see my boy HP just popped in. We are proud of you. We're excited. We know that Corey's coming along. She's gonna be doing her thing. Continue to hold the Fields name high, because you already know your mom and dad have done that. You guys are just gonna take it to another level. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, you both. I know Sunday night you probably got some homework studying for finals or whatever you need to do. So thank you so much. And I'll be sharing this this IG Live with you in case you guys need to send it to your friends or family that didn't get a chance to see it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And like I said, I mean, really appreciate the platform. And yeah, no, it was a blast.
Excellent. I'll see you guys in Los Angeles sometime soon.
Oh, of course. All right, hey, take care.
You guys have a good night.
Bye.
There you go, folks. Super excited. That family right there, the Fields family, A1 solid since day one, since 1997. Solid as you can get. I'm so excited to be able to see them do their family thing, her thrive, her going off to Harvard University. Do you guys know how much of a big deal that is? Harvard University? Oh, man. Super excited. For those folks that didn't get a chance to see the whole interview, please, you can see it on the IGTV channel, as well as you can see it on the David Watts YouTube channel. As I said before, this is episode 59, and I know there's a lot of people tuning in for the first time. All 59 episodes can be seen on the David Watts Consulting YouTube channel. In past shows, I've had, obviously, high school current student athletes, current college student athletes, former college student athletes, former professional athletes, folks who've worked in sports. Okay, we're talking about wellness experts. We had authors, college recruiting consultants, college professors, folks that are coaching. It's so important for me to share these stories with the young people, because I feel like oftentimes sharing these stories is very helpful, because it provides a template. It provides a template of success for you young people as well as parents. So as I said before, I am David Watts. I am your host. We normally have these IG Lives on Wednesdays at 5 p.m., but to accommodate the schedules of student athletes in high school as well as college, we sometimes will have them on Sunday evenings as well. So for those folks who would love to get a hold of me, I can be reached, obviously, at David Watts Consulting Instagram, at David Watts Consulting Facebook, at David Watts Consulting LinkedIn, at David Watts Consulting TikTok, and last but not least, at DWC Info on Twitter. I provide a lot of content for student athletes, a lot of encouragement, a lot of empowerment for student athletes and their parents and coaches as well, about the college recruiting process, about academic achievement and things of that nature. Check me out. Give me a follow. I don't need your follow because I need the followers. I need you to follow me because I want to help. Okay, so that's the main premise. With that being said, I look forward to seeing you all this upcoming Wednesday or Sunday. I'll be making an announcement with that indeed. We want to thank the Fields family. Much love from the 818 to the 209. I appreciate you all. And always remember, student first, athlete second. Peace.